Hello, welcome to Foolproof. I'm Ron. Thank you, the 7 magnificent viewers that visited my channel lately. I love you. What's the good word for today? I think the good word for today is you have the right to be silent. Yes, you do. That's about the only constitutional right that you have right now. I had some time to think, and it seems like every monkey and his uncle is a specialist right now, or an expert. So I went into my books and I did some grade 3 math. So I started with this place called Wuhan in China. And it seems to be that there's this little virus that escaped from a laboratory. And this little virus went around the world in 60 days. Now, if you make your calculations, take out your pens and your pencils, the world's circumference is around 40,075 kilometers. And this virus took 30 days from when it was announced to get to around Seattle or Portland in the United States. Give or take a few days, that means half the distance around the world. Multiply that by 2, that gives you 60 days for this virus to go around the world. So that says that this virus already in 1 year went around the world 6 times, which can explain maybe the variances or variants, whatever they want to call them, okay? Let's go back to this little town in China. Little town, I guess it's a fairly big city, but for China it's a little town. China and India, the 2 most populated countries in the world, making up half of the world's population right there. This virus, traveling at the speed it does, like if you take 60, divide that into 40,075, that gives you roughly around 700 kilometers a day. This virus was traveling at 700 kilometers a day. It would have probably taken 10 days to cross China and India. There were no sanitary measures in place at the time. There were no masks. There were no respiratory equipment. People there traveled by car, by bus, by train. The virus went all over the place. It's like an atomic bomb, if you can take a look at it that way. So it took 10 days to cross India and China. That's roughly about 3.5 billion people. So when you look at the first images in Wuhan, you see people getting picked up in the streets with wheelbarrows, guys picking them up, throwing them into vans and stuff like that, people lying all over the place, doctors running around in the hospital like tearing the hair out of their heads and crying and yelling and saying, well, this is a real killer virus. There's going to be about 3 or 4% death rate in there. Okay, if you take your pen and pencil again, the best case scenario, given that nobody had any way to combat this in the beginning, and you're saying that this thing went around in 60 days, it went around the world, the first wave should have killed, in the best scenario, 100 million people. Is that crazy? No, it's not. It's not. I mean, I'm not making this up. The worst case scenario, if you're talking about 4 or 5%, that's about 300 million people should be dead. Okay, maybe I'm making this up. Figure it out. Figure it out. Another thing that gets on my nerves is that why are people picking on each other? Why is it somebody's fault, the other guy's fault, your neighbor's fault? They've convinced you so much that science is going to take care of you. Science has gotten us into this. All these specialists, all these people that you adore, that you put on a pedestal right now, that they're going to save you, they're the ones that created this. The lab specialists They're the ones that created a deadly virus. You can understand that, right? They created a deadly virus. One, why did they create a deadly virus? For what reason? Deadly viruses are there, you try to cure deadly viruses. They created a deadly virus. Secondly, why? Why do you create a deadly virus without a backup? Without a vaccine? Without an antidote? You must be really crazy, because that's going to kill you as well. So it must have been targeted to somebody, and they know who the targeted people are. They know what's in their bodies that can't take this. But they're never going to admit it, because that would be admitting that they did something evil. Specialists that they are, all the precautions of scientific technology and everything, the virus got out. How did that happen? Well, they're really cool. They're really great. And then, in the end, why do we have to pick up the bill? We know where it came from. We know who did it. And here we are. Instead of pointing the finger at the cause, we point the finger at the effect. And here we are having people, and the people right now are under the, I call it the HNFF. And that's human nature frustration factor. If you can't pick on or get back at somebody that caused a harm, you're so frustrated that you pick on somebody that's weaker than you. And that's what you're doing right now. And I'm sad. It makes me cry. Because even if we get out of this, you're never going to look at your neighbor, you're never going to look your neighbor in the eye in the same way. Yeah. Sad. But that's the way it's going to be. Okay, take care everybody. See you soon.